Kevin Cook, and on Pricing the Priceless, I'm going to put a cash value on one of the biggest and busiest railway stations in the world.
Grand Central Terminal.
I'll be exploring its secret basement to price up some unexpected treasures.
Are we the furthest below the surface than anybody in all Manhattan?
I believe we are.
Oh, that's very cool.
Grilling a property magnate about prime Manhattan real estate.
When it comes to Manhattan, I know a lot about Manhattan.
And digging around to put a price on a seriously big build.
Yeah!
I'm fascinated by iconic buildings, but I've always wanted to know what they're worth. It's going to be a challenge because people think Grand Central is priceless.
But as an engineer, I know that anything can be built for the right price.
Grand Central is one of the world's largest and busiest train terminals. Nearly half the population of Manhattan passes through here every day. But it's more than just a train station. The building is a treasure trove of historical artifacts, and during the last 100 years, it's been the location of countless Hollywood movies. For many, Grand Central is the most famous railway station in the world.
As I walk through this part of Manhattan, I see all of these modern skyscrapers. And then, boom! Good old Grand Central Terminal in all its glory. The magnificent clock at the top, the statues, those gigantic windows. This is a place that everybody in New York City knows and loves. I'm no exception.
But I'm going to need to know every inch of this place if I'm going to put a price on it. So here's how I'm going to do it. First, I'll be working out how much it would cost me to build it.
Now that's more like it.
Second, I'm going to scrap it. Now, I'd never actually destroy Grand Central, but by breaking it down into its raw materials, I'll get a good idea of what it's made of and the treasures inside.
This is a famous clock. Everybody talks about meeting people under it.
And finally, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to cost up this beauty as a business and move it to a location where it could make some serious cash.
Yeah, listen to that.
It's tough to put a price tag on any iconic building, but I'm hoping these three figures will give me the most accurate value because I know that numbers never lie. And by following the money, I'll get a whole new perspective on this incredible feat of engineering. So let's get going.
First, I'm going to find out how much it's going to cost to rebuild Grand Central from scratch.
Construction began on the terminal in 1903. It took over 3,000 workers 10 years to build, using pickaxes and steam-powered shovels. Costing $80 million US, it was the most state-of-the-art transport hub on the planet. Grand Central was the largest building around. Today, it's surrounded by high-rises, including the Chrysler and the MetLife buildings. I need to find out how much it would cost to rebuild this incredible structure today. So I've arranged to meet Grand Central's chief architect, George Monasterio. Nothing happens in this building without George knowing about it.
So, how many people come in here a day?
We have 750,000 people that come through here a day. 250 approximately are commuters.
So you're saying only a third of the people that come in here are actually hopping on trains?
That's correct. 500,000 people come here every day just to take a look at the building, and it's on their to-do list.
Grand Central is huge and complex. The actual terminal building covers 3.6 hectares. Below ground, 67 rail tracks enter the terminal, with a train arriving every 58 seconds during rush hour. But I want to concentrate on rebuilding just the terminal, because although the rail tracks do enter the structure, they are part of a huge national network, not part of the building itself. So I'm going to discount them, and I need to know where the trains stop and the building starts.
Can you tell me where the building ends?
Well, we are in the main concourse, which is a landmark space. These are the train gates. On the other side of the gates is the train shed.
If I'm trying to rebuild the building itself, it sounds like I should focus my efforts from this point on.
That would be true, yes.
If I'm going to rebuild Grand Central, where do I start?
You would have to start with excavation. You have to excavate down to bedrock.
George wants to show me just how deep I'm going to have to dig in order to rebuild the terminal.
Where are we, George?
Well, here we are. This is bottom of Grand Central Terminal. We are 90 feet below street level. This is our Manhattan bedrock that the terminal sits on.
What we're sitting in right now is essentially a gigantic hole dug out of bedrock.
That would be correct.
According to George, 4.7 million U.S. tons of bedrock were excavated to create the terminal's foundations. So, before I even think about constructing the building, I'm going to have to dig one hell of a big hole. Manhattan bedrock is one of the hardest rocks in the world. You can find it emerging above street level all over the city. In fact, it defines the entire skyline. In both downtown and midtown, the bedrock lies just below the ground, providing solid anchorage for the foundations needed to build some of the tallest skyscrapers. But in between, it drops nearly 100 meters under loose sediment, making it virtually impossible to build high-rises. I need to find the best way of digging out 4.7 million tons of the stuff, and how much it's going to cost my Grand Central rebuild. So I'm heading to Hamburg Quarry, New Jersey, to perform an experiment in excavating rock. The granite mine here is almost as durable as Manhattan's bedrock.
Can you show me a few things?
Yeah, we have a few things we can show.
Site manager Mike Guida is going to help me compare 3 different techniques, all used for excavating rock. The jackhammer, a hydraulic hammer, and something I'm really looking forward to, blasting.
And I get to pull the trigger.
I'm going to see how much I can excavate in an hour using each technique. The explosives will obviously be quickest, but what I want to know is which is going to be the most cost-effective.
All right, I'm ready to go. All right. I'll go fire up there, brother.
First up, the jackhammer. It's slow, but hopefully cheap.
All right, here we go.
We've all seen the jackhammer in action, breaking up roads and pavements.
Now that's more like it.
Of course, they're never used for excavating 4.7 million tons, and after 10 minutes, I find out why.
Well, yeah, that was what I was afraid of. That rock's got it good.
Well, so much for trying to cut costs. The bit is stuck in the rock, and there's no shifting it.
How did I do, Mike?
You got one nice 40-pounder there and a 30-pounder there. Altogether, I'd say you got about 100 pounds of broken rock.
All right, time for some math. So I dug 45 kilograms in 10 minutes. Not bad. And at that rate, 4.7 million tons would take a staggering 16 million man-hours to excavate. Factor in construction workers' rates, and my bill for excavating Grand Central's foundations will come to a massive $1.1 billion. So, impractical and surprisingly expensive. Time to try something more suited to the job.
This is it, huh?
Yeah, Kevin, this is our hydraulic hammer.
I have 1 hour with this hydraulic hammer to chip away as much rock as I possibly can. This is going to be fun. Yeah!
The hydraulic hammer is the most common tool used in the construction industry for breaking up large amounts of rock. It can deliver 550 powerful punches in a minute, making it perfect for excavating bedrock in urban areas. Yeah! An hour complete, and that was certainly less exhausting than a jackhammer.
Well, you broke a good portion of that ledge, so I would say you got about 30 tons.
30 tons. It's a lot better than with the handheld.
Oh, a lot better.
Yeah.
Better than
30 U.S. tons in an hour works out to 160,000 man-hours to dig my foundations. Add in labor costs and machine hire, and the price to excavate Grand Central's foundations with hydraulic hammers is $24 million. Now that's more like it. But now it's time to try something with a little more oomph. In 1903, when Grand Central construction workers excavated large quantities of rock, they used a highly unstable but effective dynamite. Incredibly, it's a technique still employed on Manhattan today. Of course, only using plastic explosives that are much more stable and controlled. Mike and Jimmy, they're going to show me how it's done. They've dug 50 holes along the blast area, and we start filling each one with plastic explosives, known as chubs. Alright, so what's the whole process of loading one of these holes?
Well, first one is you're going to have to throw a chub down that hole.
Alright, how about I give it a nice little push?
Bombs away!
You ever utilize that push technique I just showed you?
No.
So are we all done here? This is the final finished product? Doesn't look like much from up here, but we know what's going on down there. Bad news.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm a bit excited, but 1 hour and another 49 holes later, we're ready to blast. I tried the handheld jackhammer and the hydraulic jackhammer, and all things considered, they both produce respectable results, but now it's time for the big one, and I get to pull the trigger.
25 to garage, carry. Down the horn.
3, 2, 1. I'm about to find out the most cost-effective way of excavating 4.7 million U.S. tons of rock. 3, 2, 1. That was intense. That was great. Oh, that is a big pile of rock. Can you estimate how much rock we have here?
Roughly right around 50,000 tons.
That's a lot of rock, but at $33,500 a blast, is it the cheapest? I'll need 94 of these monster explosions to excavate all 4.7 million tons, which works out to just over $3 million US. I've had figures for a jackhammer and a hydraulic hammer, and $3 million is the most cost-effective method. It's a dynamite deal. But so far, all I have to show for my rebuild is just a really big hole in the ground. I still have an entire building to construct, and to find out how to get started on that, I head downtown to Ground Zero. It's a place that stirs up powerful emotions. But a new World Trade Center complex is now being built, and will consist of 5 towers, including what will be the tallest building in America when it's completed in 2015. All are being constructed using steel frames, just like Grand Central. So I've come here to cost up a new frame for my rebuild, and the man that's going to help me is engineer Richard Garlock. That's true, he definitely will.
would have to consider that. Grand Central Terminal was constructed in 1913. What are the main differences between construction, steel frame from now and then?
We've done a lot of research in the past 100 years. We know our materials much better. We've got higher strength steels, and we've got higher strength concretes. And so, we work to combine, to the advantage of the building, the two.
I'd love to get up there. Is it possible?
Sure. Why don't we go take a look?
Great.
Tower 4 will be a 64-story office building facing onto the 9/11 memorial.
All right, Kevin, so we're on the 4th floor. This is a future mechanical room, and you can see the steel going up around us.
This is a great view. We can really see the structure of this building from here. And I know the main advantages of steel are it's strong and it's affordable. I'm rebuilding Grand Central, that's why I'm here. So all things considered, how do you go about pricing out something like a steel frame for a building?
You would look at the total square footage that is going to be built, and you come up with $1 per square foot value, say, for this building type, between $130 to $150 a square foot. That would be an average of about $140 a square foot.
That's the cost of the steel frame.
So, with 37,000 square meters of steel in Grand Central's frame, costing $1,500 per square meter, that's going to set me back $56 million. Now back to Grand Central Terminal. I'm beginning to get a good idea of how much this rebuild is going to cost. But there's a lot more to this place than just the shell.
I've always known Grand Central is a beautiful building, but I've only just started noticing the details. And the ceiling, it's a work of art. The windows, they're massive. And the floors, all marble.
I gotta tell you, the craftsmanship that went into this building, it's incredible. And I've got to put a price on it. So I've asked George Monasterio to help me out again.
My basic structure is done. Now what I need to think about is finishing costs. So what's on my list?
You're going to have your air conditioning, heating, cooling, and then we have the flooring, the finishes.
All right, so the floors, I see we're standing on marble right now.
This is Tennessee pink marble. And the reason they chose the marble was for its durability and its elegance. Different shades and hues really gives it more character, a richer look.
Right. Well, works for me.
As the terminal's chief architect, George is responsible for overseeing the maintenance and costs of all these finishing touches. Lucky for me, because I've got to cost all of them up.
How much will it cost me to put all these things into my rebuild of Grand Central Terminal?
Well, with recent projects and revitalization projects that we currently have, we know the square footage numbers for different costs, different elements, and it would cost approximately $360 million.
So that's $360 million to put all the finishing touches to Grand Central.
That's what it takes.
Okay.
Now I've got all the figures I need to work out the cost of rebuilding Grand Central. $3.1 million to dig out the foundations, plus the cost of the steel frame, and putting in the plumbing, electrical wiring, and the finishing touches, and I get a total of just under $420 million. It's a huge figure, but one that reflects the incredible feat of engineering and craftsmanship. And they did it almost 100 years ago.
I've accomplished the first part of my mission, and I know how much it would cost to rebuild the terminal from scratch.
But there's another way I can put a value on this beautiful building. As a scrap dealer. To value Grand Central Terminal as scrap, I need to check out a few things. How much could I get for breaking down the building materials? What's the value of all those fixtures and fittings? and I need the price tag of that prime real estate that it's built on.
If I'm going to get an accurate value for the land underneath Grand Central, I need to talk to the man who deals with money and real estate in Manhattan on a level that most people only dream of.
There's one man I'm confident can give me a price for the 37,000 square meters of land under Grand Central Terminal.
I'm here to see Donald Trump, please.
He's reported to be worth a cool $2 billion. And he owns nearly 2 million square meters of Manhattan real estate.
I'm interested in real estate values here in Manhattan, and I'm thinking that you're one of the most qualified people I can talk to. Am I right?
Well, I think you probably are. I certainly am one of the best people around. When it comes to Manhattan, I know a lot about Manhattan.
So Donald's no shrinking violet, but then he is real estate royalty.
In your opinion, what makes real estate here in Manhattan different from, any old real estate?
I can tell you, Manhattan has an amazing energy, a great energy. It's a vibrant place. People, no matter where they live, they want to come to Manhattan. They want to be in Manhattan. They want to be a part of Manhattan. It's just a great place.
Have you done any projects on Grand Central Terminal itself?
Well, I had the Grand Hyatt Hotel, which was a part of Grand Central Terminal, actually, because when I renovated, it was the old Commodore Hotel. And it was a great success for me and for Hyatt, and still there and doing very well. But as part of the Grand Hyatt Hotel, I renovated Grand Central Terminal.
What about the actual value of the land that Grand Central sits on? I would love to get some sort of estimate, a number, if you could.
Grand Central Terminal would be about as valuable as you can get. It would be a location almost comparable to this location, where you're at 57th and 5th, which is a very high-end location.
We're talking tens of millions or in the billions?
We'd be talking about, for just the land itself, $500-600 million, something like that. At least, just for the land.
$600 million. All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
$600 million just for the land. And I haven't even started on the scrap value of the building itself. So, I already know the terminal has a frame constructed from 29,000 U.S. tons of steel. Add to that just under 5,000 tons of limestone all the way from Indiana. As an engineer, I know the scrap value of steel is $320 a ton. And a ton of limestone is worth about $20. So, I could expect $9 million just for the shell of the terminal. Not bad. But the most valuable part of Grand Central has got to be all those antique treasures. So I've asked John Hayes, Deputy Chairman of Christie's Auction House, to be my guide.
This is a famous clock. I mean, everybody talks about meeting under it, and I've never done it myself until right now. Now I have met somebody by the clock. Thanks for hooking me up.
Nice to meet you. This is a bronze and brass clock, and the face of the clock is opal. We're looking at one of the unique and important icons of Grand Central Station.
John's right. This is far more than just a fancy timepiece. 100 years old, world famous, and still looking good, it's appeared in countless Hollywood blockbusters. But how much is this superstar worth?
If this was to be removed and sold, would you be able to put a value on this one?
It could be worth $2 or $3 million.
That's one expensive clock. But it's not the only valuable object in the building. Spanning the length of the concourse are 10 beautiful chandeliers. Every couple of years, they're carefully lowered for cleaning.
Can I help with the light bulbs?
And as luck would have it, my timing's perfect.
I'll show you just how to do it. Gently turn counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise. That's why I keep on breaking light bulbs when I take them out.
Grand Central was one of the first terminals in the world to use electricity to power its trains. And these electric chandeliers, they were hung from the terminal ceiling to showcase this achievement.
These chandeliers demonstrated that same technology, cutting-edge technology, in 1914 that your iPad or iPhone has today.
It has to be worth a lot of money, right?
Well, it certainly cost a great deal to make them. And if you tried to make them today, it would cost a tremendous amount of money. This chandelier would probably be somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 a pop.
$300,000? And I've got 10 of them. That's a small fortune. But not all the riches in this place are on display. I've been granted access to a restricted area where a national treasure has remained hidden for decades. I'm exploring every corner of New York's Grand Central Terminal to put a price on it as scrap.
I'm in a secret location which houses a very special item. This is Franklin Delano Roosevelt's personal train car to get him in and out of New York City.
Roosevelt led the United States through severe economic crisis and a world war. Many consider him to be one of the greatest presidents America has ever had. But after an assassination attempt in 1933, he wasn't taking any chances.
This is not just any old steel train car. This is armor clad. Nothing is getting through here. No bullets. Ow! Especially not my fist. Along the top, there are what looks to be just standard windows, but they're actually gun ports.
While these design features might be normal for a president's vehicle, there's one detail that reveals something a bit more unusual.
Down on the end, on this side, are two sliding doors, which are a little bit larger than normal and actually big enough to allow a car, but not just any car, Franklin Delano Roosevelt's car, to pull directly from this train onto a platform and into a hotel if need be.
The train was a closely guarded secret because Roosevelt had a secret of his own. He suffered from polio and was paralyzed from the waist down, and he was always careful to hide his condition from the public.
This is a special train. It's got to be worth a little something.
In fact, it's worth quite a lot. Christie's auction house has valued this piece of American history at $2 million. So now I have a second price tag for the terminal, as scrap. Adding together the antiques, building materials, and the real estate brings my total to $617 million. A huge figure that represents the incredible value of land on Manhattan and the extraordinary craftsmanship in this beautiful building. And remember, my first cost to rebuild the terminal was just under $420 million. So I've got two valuations in the same ballpark. But there's a third and final way to put a price on Grand Central. As a business.
Millions of dollars pass through this terminal every day, but exactly how many dollars? What I want to know is, how much money does this place make, and how much do I have to pay to buy it?
As an engineer, I've got a head for machines, not money. But I need to put a price on Grand Central as a business, so I've arranged to meet financial analyst Vince Farrell. He's going to help me polish up my numbers.
I want to figure out how much Grand Central is worth as a business. You're the financial wizard, so what information do I need to collect for you?
This is one of the grand buildings in New York City. I love it. I've been a commuter my entire working life, and I've commuted to Grand Central for 40 years. I think what we need to do is take the trains and put them on the side, because if we want to look at a business, we have to pretend that we can take it out and move it someplace, which in theory you could with a building, but not with a train set. The trains are inextricably tied to other lines further upstate. So as a business, we have to find out the revenues these businesses contribute to Grand Central enterprises, let's call it. So we have to go around and take a look at all the small businesses that are here, what they generate, and what our piece of it is.
All right, so that's incoming revenue. What about the costs? What do you recommend I look for?
Well, certainly electricity would be the big one, because the building has a lot of lights. And then maintenance, because they keep this place absolutely spotless.
All right, well, I'm off to get that, and I'll let you know, and you'll work out all the details for me.
I'll work out the details as to what I would be willing to pay for this as a business.
Excellent. Right. I've got my to-do list from Vince, and like he said, I have to discount the income from the trains. All I'm focused on is the terminal. So how does this building make a profit? Well, Grand Central is more than just a train terminal. Per square meter, it's America's most successful shopping mall. 750,000 people come through the doors every day, and the vast majority are shopping and eating, which means they're spending dollars. I'm meeting retail manager Gordon Palavin to find out just how much green this place is pulling in.
Grand Central Terminal is a lot more than just a train station, obviously.
The lifeblood of New York beats through this building, and all the things that people need and like to do, you can do here at Grand Central.
There are a lot of stores in here.
Yes,
How many?
There are about 100 stores, and roughly half of them are food-related in one form or another, for those breakfasts and lunches and dinners.
There's a lot going on here. We have the shops, we have the restaurants, and you have the events. So let's talk money.
Okay.
After it's all said and done, how much money do you make every year?
The stores and the restaurants here take in about $170 million a year, and between the events and the rents, the percentage of the store sales, we take in about $27 million.
So the terminal takes in $27 million from retail. How much does it cost to run one of the largest train terminals in the world? To keep Grand Central Terminal looking neat and tidy takes some serious cash. The electricity bill alone is a dazzling $5.5 million US. But this place hasn't always looked this good.
Back in the 1970s and 80s, the terminal was in a terrible state.
Air travel in the U.S. took off in the 1950s, and the railroads couldn't compete. Grand Central fell on hard times. It took a massive renovation project in the 1990s to bring it back to its former glory. George Monasterio has told me there's one telltale piece of evidence, 45 meters above the concourse, that shows the mess that it was in.
We want to show you the little secret that we have here in the terminal.
All right, so what am I looking at here?
If you just notice on your left-hand side,
That rectangle over there.
that black rectangle.
Okay, what's that?
That is the remnants of what the ceiling used to look like back in the 80s, early 90s. The whole ceiling was covered in this black film.
So that's pretty much, that's like dirt, that's what you're telling me.
They thought it was exhaust from the cars, or it was the brake dust from the trains.
Right.
But actually, they tested it, and they figured out that it was nicotine smoke.
Cigarettes, that's from cigarettes.
That's from cigarette smoke.
No.
That's what it is.
Clearing out the ceiling, that was just one part of the renovation process that took place in the 90s. That whole renovation, how much did that cost you?
That was $250 million.
$250 million for the whole restoration over about 100 years, averages out to $2.5 million a year in upkeep. Is that anywhere close to what you spend now?
Budget's gone up a little bit. It's about $12 million a year that we spend for maintenance for the building. Otherwise, we'd end up looking the way we were back in the 80s.
Yeah, we don't want that.
We don't want that to happen again.
So $12 million every year just to give Grand Central a bit of spit and polish. I sent the figures to Wall Street wizard Vince Farrow. Now it's time to crunch some numbers.
How did you analyze Grand Central as a business?
We took out the railroad revenues, which were tough to see go because there's hundreds of millions in railroad tickets sold, but it's part of a bigger enterprise. You came up with roughly $27 million in revenues, and expenses were sort of on the high side. So the net profit for Grand Central Enterprises, which we're calling it, is about $15 million.
But Vince thinks $15 million is a gross underestimate for a business with so much potential. He's willing to pay up to 10 times that much.
So if we take a multiple of that 15, we would spend $150 million to buy this as a business.
That's it.
That's it. I know it seems remarkably small, but it's because it's not designed as a business. And if we could buy it at my price, I think that we'd make an absolute fortune.
That would be a steal.
It would be a steal.
This place could be mine for a mere $150 million. But it should be making more money. After all, more tourists and shoppers use this building than commuters. Over $180 million a year. I want to realize its true potential as a cash cow. And Vince reckons in order to do that, I need to move it. Anyway, it's kind of lost in New York, surrounded by high-rises and all.
Imagine I purchased Grand Central, a place people love, but more importantly, a place people love to spend their money in. It's all about the food, the shopping, the drinking, and generally just having a good time, which gives me an idea.
There is a place dedicated to entertainment. A place that people travel hundreds of kilometers to. It's a place that was built for spending money in.
I'm in Vegas, baby!
If I were to move Grand Central here, it could achieve its true potential. So I'm looking for a plot of land in a great location on the Strip. And realtor to the stars, Aaron Auxier, is going to help me find it.
Here's the plan. I buy Grand Central Terminal, I bring it to Las Vegas, and turn it into a resort. Good idea or bad idea?
Great idea.
So, how many tourists come here every year?
37 million.
Oh, wow, 37 million. That's a lot of tourists. I assume they're spending a lot of money. What are they spending their money on?
Gaming, room revenue, entertainment, conventions. So there's a lot of ways to create revenue from your place.
Las Vegas is more than just a bunch of casinos.
It's a lot of strippers, too.
What's the best location for a casino in Las Vegas?
There's really no destination like the Strip here for a casino.
Do you have a particular lot in mind where I might be able to drop off the terminal?
Yes. You want to go see it?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's go.
Let's do this.
I need at least 3.6 hectares of land for the terminal building. That's a big chunk of the Strip.
So this is it, huh?
This is it. It's your spot.
I can see it now. I have the concourse over here, stores over there. All right. It's right here on the Strip, right across from the pyramid itself.
Yes.
I mean, this is a great spot. Is something wrong with it?
No.
Is that why nobody snatched it up yet?
No, of course not.
How much is it going to cost to get this place?
Probably about $500 million.
All right, if that's what it takes to have a little bit of fun, then I'm willing to do it.
So for a cool $500 million, I've got the perfect location for my Las Vegas Grand Central Casino. Now, all I've got to do is move it 4,000 kilometers. How hard can that be? Grand Central is one of the world's largest train terminals, so I'm going to have to shift it bit by bit. And the way to do that? Trucks. And lots of them. I'm at Port Newark Truck Depot to see my buddy, Del Bobish.
I'm going to buy Grand Central Terminal and truck it across the country from New York City to Las Vegas. I have 57,000 tons of material. Need to know how much material can I fit in a truck?
Being that it's a long distance from New York City to Las Vegas, there's different weight restrictions from state to state.
I would probably say you're going to go with about 40,000 pounds per truck. Now, from New York City to Las Vegas is about 2,500 miles. So, how much is it going to cost per truck? This is what I want. I want money. I want some figures.
I would say an estimated cost, a good estimated cost, probably be upwards around $8,000 per truck.
Okay. That's really all I need.
That's it. We're ready to go. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, man.
You got it.
So to move Grand Central, I'm going to need a fleet of nearly 3,000 trucks, each carrying 20 U.S. tons. And at $8,000 a truck, that's going to set me back $23 million. But there's one piece of the terminal that I can't break up and move in containers. The ceiling.
It's just way too beautiful and way too valuable to break it up and ship it in pieces across the country. It would never look the same again.
I'm moving Grand Central Terminal to Las Vegas using a fleet of trucks. But the hand-painted ceiling can't be moved in containers. So I need to find another way. The terminal's chief architect, George Monasterio, has advised me to move it in the largest sections possible to minimize the damage. But the only way to get it off Manhattan is to transport it by road. And that means down Park Avenue. On average, the lanes on Park Avenue are only 13 meters wide. My ceiling is 35 meters wide and 61 meters long. If I cut it into 5 sections, it should work, and hopefully will need only minimal restoration. This is an intimidating job. I'm going to need some help.
Hey, Wayne.
Hey, Kevin.
All right, thanks for meeting with me.
Okay, let's go over here to the yard and we'll take a look at some.
Wayne Yarusi has moved church towers, town halls, and ancient wooden houses whole. To move my ceiling, he's showing me how he'd build 5 enormous custom trailers.
You take the hook off and hook that, get it through, and then when you're done, put the hook on the machine.
We start to work on one of them using a crane to slot together a number of steel beams. Every beam has to be balanced precisely, or the whole thing could collapse. It needs to carry a fifth of the ceiling, weighing 57 U.S. tons.
We'll saddle this in so the truck doesn't pull itself out from under the load.
What's going on? Is it off center, a little crooked?
Yeah, a little bit. Push this with me. Push this with me. See if you push it. Okay, that's good.
I'm going to need 5 of these monsters. I'm beginning to realize what a mammoth job this is.
Well, the trailer's done. This thing does not look very maneuverable, and honestly, I wonder how difficult it is to drive around.
Wayne tells me the trickiest part of the journey is going to be the corner of Park Avenue onto East 96th Street. So he's replicated it using wooden crates to mark the obstacles I'd have to avoid. Wayne, he can take this with his eyes closed, but I want to find out if a novice like me can handle it.
Yeah, listen to that.
This might look straightforward, but believe me, with 45 tons of steel beams behind me, I'm not feeling that confident.
There's no way I'm getting through this. No way.
You're gonna knock this down. You're gonna hit this grid down.
One down.
Right.
I just scraped one building, and I'm not even finished yet.
Straight. Right. Straight. Going straight.
I need to avoid the second crate before I'm safely on my way. And I'm getting dangerously close.
This one's going down. There's no way I'm making it. There she goes.
Good thing this isn't for real. I'd have just wrecked half of Manhattan.
All right, that's 2 obstacles I destroyed. I'm going to stick to engineering. If I want to move the ceiling of Grand Central from New York City to Las Vegas, I'm leaving it to the professionals.
We got it. So I won't be driving that thing anywhere, but I did get some numbers. Fully loaded, the top speed these trailers can go is 16 kilometers an hour. So it'll take 32 days to drive from New York to Vegas. And at $27,000 US a day for each of my 5 trucks, that brings my ceiling move to a total of just under $4.5 million bucks. I have my costs. To move Grand Central, including the price of dismantling and reassembling it, which a call to a top U.S. construction company revealed, is just under $250 million. Plus, $500 million for my plot of land, and the $150 million I paid for the building itself, and I have my figure to buy and move Grand Central Terminal. Just under $1 billion. Well, it's been a crazy journey. There's no set way to put a price on an icon like Grand Central, but at the end of the day, I have 3 figures. To rebuild Grand Central, it would cost me nearly $420 million bucks. As scrap, it could fetch a cool $617 million. And to buy and move the terminal to Las Vegas, just under $1 billion. 3 monster figures that reflect the engineering genius that went into this awesome building nearly 100 years ago. This is a living organism, hustle, bustle, a lot going on all the time. Now, for as many times as I've been here, I have to admit I never really got down and investigated the details about what makes Grand Central Terminal so special, and it feels great to have done it. But the people of New York are never going to let this place go. It's a symbol of their city, part of their history. And anyway, without it, how would they get to work?
Explore the moral and practical implications of prison love with brand new Extreme Lives tomorrow at 9.